My name is Lauren, and I'm really excited to be here right now. I wanted to let you all know, most of you don't know, this is my very first time doing any sort of public speaking or any sort of talk ever before. And we're in a lineup of some pretty impressive people. So I wanted to reassure you that I do have a bit of stage experience. I was on stage for the first time 2 weeks ago. It was a performance from a little bit different. It was a play, and I had one of the lead roles. So I wore a head mic that time too, so I have experience with that. And I was able to get over my fear of heights. We did that dirty dancing lift. I'm not a dancer. So it was all really exciting, and because you just met me and you might not trust me, I thought I should just show you. I'm totally qualified to be up here talking to all of you right now. So welcome to my expert talk. Thank you. So my name is Lauren, like I said, and I am a co-founder of Shine Academics. It's a volunteer-run tutoring program that provides free math and science tutoring to kids from grade primary to grade 12, and this happens in Halifax, Nova Scotia, with an awesome team of people. With my spare time, I'm a second-year medical student. Takes up a little bit of that time, but I love the things that I do, and I'm so thrilled to be here today. When I was first asked to speak, I was really, really excited, obviously. Very, very nervous as well, though. And so I reached out to friends and families to start getting advice on what kind of a talk I could give to you. I wanted something great. And it seemed there was a common theme that I would come up with, some big idea, something big and impressive that you would all love, and it would change your lives maybe a little bit. I don't know. So first, it would have to be a new idea, and we'd want it to be big. And then it should be unique and impressive and accessible, and maybe it should be thought-provoking, and on top of that, mind-blowing, potentially, and ideally under 10 minutes, because people like that. So I collected all these ideas and thought, that's great. Like, I can totally do that. And leave you all with a changed mind and different perspectives. So I just added that to the mix. And then I was having a bit of a hard time coming up with something. That's a lot of criteria. And I just decided, all right, so after my talk, the world will spin a little bit differently, and the framework of society will have shifted. Okay, that's cool. So that wasn't going to happen. Not at all, because the pressure to come up with something that was big and impressive was crippling, and wasn't something that I could do. So I forgot all of that, and I took a deep breath, and I'm here to talk to all of you today about a little thing in my life that I love. So I'm originally from Truro, Nova Scotia. Hold your applause, thank you. I grew up with 4 older sisters and 4 younger brothers and my mom and dad in a 3 to 4-ish bedroom house. Beautiful sense of community and family there. And I moved to Halifax in 2006 to be the first in my family to go to university. And that was really awesome. It was big, it was exciting. And after a few months, that excitement was still there, but I started to feel a lot of stresses of school, of being away from that support system. I had financial stress, I had academic stress, I had social stress, and on top of it, I was surrounded by a bunch of people dealing with those exact same stresses. And I needed an escape. My life felt really, really heavy, and I needed something to lighten it up. So I saw this poster, and they were looking for volunteer tutors, and it was for reading support, which wasn't my niche. I was a physics student, and math and physics, like reading, didn't love it, but I called them anyway, and I said, I can help with math and science if you need it. And it turns out they did. They really wanted some help with math and science, and so I was introduced to my very first student. I was introduced to Dee Dee. And Dee Dee was in grade 11 at the time. She was just a few years younger than me, and we became really close really quickly. And she had a very clear goal of what she wanted to accomplish in being helped with math and science, and that was to get through grade 11 math. But there was something special about this goal. She needed to do that before she had her baby, because she was 5 months pregnant when I met her. And so we were close friends, and I joined her in that goal, and that was awesome for me, because it became that little bit of sunshine in my life that I needed, that helped everything else feel a bit better in my life. So as time went on, I started collecting kids to tutor, because it was awesome, and I loved it, and I did the physics, and I worked 2 part-time jobs, and then I had these kids I was tutoring, but the numbers grew pretty quickly, and over the years, I ended up with 3 kids, and then 5, and then I was tutoring 10 kids each week for an hour each, and that was a lot for me. So I met someone, her name's Zinck, and she was wonderful. Her and I became friends, and I spoke passionately about this thing that added light and color to my life, and she wanted to join me. And so in joining me, she is, very practical and said, we can't do this by ourselves, and so why don't we open this up as an opportunity for other people to join us? So we did that. We decided it needed a name because people need a sense of being a part of something, so we call it Shine, because that's adorable. And my mom always told me to let my little light shine, so it made sense. And this is our hand-drawn logo that we made in 2013 with our spare time. And we started this little group of people that was like 10 people. It was like 10 kids and 8 tutors, and we had some friends join us. And yeah, that's our little group. And some of those kids are here today in the audience. And we were really proud of that. And it's important to note here that we weren't going around telling people to join us in this big, impressive idea that looked great on a resume. We weren't asking them to do that. It didn't look great. It wasn't anything anyone knew about. And we weren't trying to turn people into volunteer time. What happened was we were really excited about something, and we told people about that. And they saw that in us, and they wanted to be a part of it. So they joined us. And it became a little thing that they also loved in their life, a little thing that they made time for. And so our collection grew, and by 2014, our numbers went from about 10 kids, and then they all came back with their friends and their cousins and their neighbors, and we had 30. So that was really fun and exciting, and that program continued to grow. Here we are today. And now all people have to do to sign up for Shine is they go online to our website and they fill out a little form to be a student or fill out a little form to be a volunteer, and then we set them up for their one-on-one weekly mentoring. And it's fantastic. If you ever come to the North End Library, it's an awesome place to be and to see this. It's a phenomenal group of people. But what happened was we went and told everybody about this thing. We talked about Shine like it was magic and we were believers or something, and everybody kind of became believers too. And so it became a positive thing for everybody to be involved with in their lives. Now our budget is like $2,500. It's really a simple thing we've come up with, like a year. That's what we spend on snacks and supplies. We operate on a low budget, and it's a simple process. But we were really happy to come up with this together. So here I am now giving all of you a TEDx talk. And I think that's amazing, and I would love to say that this was all part of my big plan, that eventually I would be on a TEDx stage and I'd have this big program to show off to all of you and tell you that I'd planned this years and years ago, but I didn't. This was never a plan. We didn't hope for this to happen. We just did a little thing in our lives that we loved, and this is what came out of it. But the great thing about that was this thing grew on its own. It was something that could grow freely and unbound by preconceptions or expectations, and it was allowed to become this thing that's great now. So not having a plan, I know all of you have a plan, probably you're university students, so you know what you're doing in 10 years. You are getting your undergrad degree, you know exactly what job you're going to get with it, you know what you're doing today, you've got your schedule, you wake up at that right time every day, nothing ever goes wrong, like you really got it together. Me too, totally got it together. But then, maybe for some of you, there's one out of like every 365 days or something, there's one day that doesn't go well, something goes wrong. Like you drop your phone and the screen breaks, or your car gets towed, or you sleep in and miss an exam, or your Tinder date is vegan and your Groupon's for the keg. Like, what do you do in those situations? And so these things happen to all of us, and we don't know what to do, and we feel like our whole world crumbles on that day, or even the whole week. And that in itself can be crippling. So what do we do in those moments? And I had a really hard time with that, going through school and not knowing what I was doing. I have a physics degree, a microbiology, immunology degree, and now I'm in medicine. That wasn't my plan. I know it seems like it makes sense, but that's not what I decided to do from the beginning. So with Shine, we were really forced to embrace this thing of uncertainty, not just understand it, but to embrace it, because things didn't always go the way we wanted it to. I'm not talking about a program where every day things were awesome. Every time we had Shine, some things worked out and some things went wrong. And there were times where we were so overwhelmed, and we actually took a step back and wondered if we were doing anything right at all, because everything seemed to be going wrong. There were times where, as a program, we felt overwhelmed. Kids would cancel last minute, tutors wouldn't show up, parents had these big expectations of us that we felt like we couldn't meet, and then we had expectations of ourselves that we had created, these big things we thought we should be doing, and then we just could never meet those goals. And so we felt like maybe we were failing in a lot of ways. And then on the other hand, we were students. And so with all of those stresses, we also had struggles academically. Like, I totally bombed Quantum 2. That was not a great course for me. And it's because all of these other things were happening, and we had to embrace the fact that they're not always going to work out. And that's okay. But we just moved forward in the directions that worked, and we moved away from the ones that didn't. And that was okay. So I also took another step in embracing that uncertainty. And in my life, I applied to medical school the first time, and I got rejected. And that was a big hit. I had to take a look at what I was doing and think to myself, what was I doing in this life so I could check off all those boxes for admissions so that they would like me and say I could go to their school, versus how much was I doing because I loved it, because it made my life more rich. And so reflecting on that, I realized there were certain things like, you know, being the second string volunteer lemonade refiller at the hospital wasn't a meaningful medical experience for me, but it did check off that box. Those things that weren't as valuable or meaningful, what was I doing them for? And then I saw there were these things that I loved, and I decided I needed to do more of that. So the next year I went and I applied to medical school again, but this time I was a much shinier person because I knew all the things I was doing in my life. It wasn't so I could impress them and get into medical school. I was doing it because that was what my life was, that it was full of color and it was full of light. It was full of these great things that I did that enriched every aspect of what I was doing. And so then I got really fortunate, and the second try, I got into medical school. But at that same time, I didn't let go of these things that I loved. Life gets busy, and it's easy to cut out the things that you love most and give more attention to the things you have to continue doing for those goals down the road. But I found my success in not doing that. So if someone were to, let's say, come to me today and say, how do you come up with some big successful thing that impresses people and, you know, isn't too difficult to do with an already busy life? How do I do that? And I would say that from my experience, coming up with that big idea, that big impressive idea from the beginning, that wasn't the way. What I did is I looked at the little things in my life that I loved, and I kept doing those things. I did more of that. I saw that they added light, not to just those moments where I was doing them, but to every aspect of my life. It kind of resonated throughout. I was just a better person, and I loved everything more because I had these pieces in my life that I made time for. I would let them know that if things weren't working, I would let go of them, and I would keep the things that did work. I looked at what success was. What does success look like? And if I was only doing something for a big trophy at the end, like years and years down the road, and nothing right now enriching my life, well, then I would have to reevaluate that because that wasn't going to work. So I like to think of my life as not a marathon with like a big trophy at the end, because that's exhausting. I'm not a runner, but like that's a good analogy. What I like to think of is, you know, those charity runs where like people run through the crowd and everyone's high-fiving you the whole way. That's what I like to think my life is, and every day I get those successes, those little things that I love, and that's what I'm doing all of this for. So a decade ago, I tutored Dee Dee. And that was a really awesome thing in my life, that even as a really stressed out, disorganized, chaotic university student, I had this thing in my life that was really wonderful, that enriched every other part. And then years after that, Chloe joined me, and we started tutoring a handful of junior high students, many of which are here now. And then the program got a bit bigger, and Jackie joined us, another friend, and she came in as we had our first two official Shine High School graduates. And both of those girls went on to be the first in their families to go to university, and both of those girls are here today. And that program continued to grow, and now we've got over 100 people every week coming in this not very big room to do this shiny thing we all have in our lives. And that program got a little big, so all the kids have pitched in, and now the kids help run it because, you know, we're all running around and busy, but they're now pitching in. So along the way, we can see that this has been a success, and each of these little things have been a success, and it is a great thing that Shine's become. But I'm going to tell you that that's not my big idea. My big idea wasn't Shine. My idea was to tutor Dee Dee 10 years ago. That was my big idea, to tutor Dee Dee 10 years ago. And we can see all the successes now, but my success happened a decade ago, and it was a small thing, but it was the big thing that enriched my life over this last decade. It wasn't a means to an end, and it's something that keeps enriching my life now. So, if you take away from this talk, you're going to leave here and think about all those things in your life, those things that you love, that you make time for now, or maybe you don't. Think about all those little tiny things that you love. And maybe you'll think about the fact that those are actually the big things. And those are the things that deserve a little bit more of your attention. And maybe you'll leave here today and you'll look at that checklist that you've been trying to work tirelessly at so that you can impress people or get into a program or get that job. And maybe you'll reevaluate that. Maybe you'll throw it out and start living your life for things that you love and you want to do to impress yourself. And maybe you'll liberate yourself from having those big expectations and goals of coming up with something big and impressive idea, like a TEDx talk on the spot. Like, you can't just do that. Or maybe I've inspired you to go invest in a versatile, comfortable, 3/4 length black blazer because it turns a downtown outfit into a TED Talk outfit. But whatever I've done here for you today is a huge success, and I am so grateful for this chance. But my success, my big success here on stage today, was to share with all of you a little thing that I love. This big thing that really is just this little thing that I love. And I think I did that. So thank you all for this success.